largely due to that spirit in Korea.
지난 2020년 세계는 팬데믹이라는 전대미문의 위기 앞에 무력했습니다. 미국과 유럽 주요 국조차 시스템이 무너지고 불안만이 남았을 때 세계 언론은 뜻밖의 한 나라를 주목했습니다. 바로 대한민국이었습니다. 국제기관과 석학들은 한국의 방역 모델을 현대적 민주주의 체계에서 가장 효율적 대응이라 평가했습니다. 단지 기술의 승리가 아닌 국민의 자발적인 협조가 만들어낸 결과였습니다. 이보다 앞서 미국 하와이 대학교의 미래학자 짐 데이토 교수는 한국을 예의주시하며 말했습니다. 이제 한국이 본받을 서구 모델은 없다. 한국은 새로운 길을 개척할 퍼스트 무버가 되어야 한다. 그는 한국이 서구의 궤적을 그대로 따르지 않고 자신만의 방식으로 문제를 해결하는 독창성을 지녔다고 강조했죠. 그 예측은 지금까지도 유효합니다. 식민지 수탈 없이 자원도 거의 없이 순수하게 국민의 교육과 집단적 노력만으로 선진국이 된 사례는 한국이 유일하기 때문입니다. 얼마 전 KI 세미나에서는 전직 주한 미국 대사들을 한자리에 초대해 왜 지금 우리는 한국에게 해법을 배워야 하는가라는 공통된 질문을 던졌습니다.
Now we're in a new era. We have two new presidents. First, President Trump, who had already been elected at that time, but had not yet taken office, and with President Lee Jae-myung. And so we'll have a different dynamic, at least for the initial period, will be focused on the tariffs issue. But there are other issues between the two countries that will be in play, and some of them more positive, if you will, about the connection between the two countries, including shipbuilding and the possible Korean participation in a pipeline in Alaska. We'll see how those go.
So it sounds like part of what it is that it's not just a Korea problem, it's a global problem, adjusting to the Trump administration, perhaps. But
yeah, it's the same issue that Europe is dealing with.
But I want to ask you about the global rise of Korean influence, because it seems like there's a whole list of pay items that are being marketed these days. You've watched that over the course of the past few years. What do you think accounts for that? What is the secret sauce in Korea that has somehow become one that the rest of the world is interested in acquiring?
Korea is a great success story. It is due largely to the innovation and hard work of the Korean people. The companies that have harnessed some of the great technologies, starting with electronics and now semiconductors, electric vehicles. And it's become kind of cool, the manufacturing of Korea. Not so much semiconductors, although that is the oil of the 21st century. But even with, if you look going from the Hyundai Kia models of old, like the Pony, to what they have now, where they're winning all kinds of design awards. So it has to do with innovation, with the very idea that Korea is an important country for production, and so I think that as I say, it's largely due to that spirit in Korea. There are a lot of warning signs out there too. The demographic cliff, and how do they keep employment going and keep that innovation and hard work when there are going to be fewer people? That's there are some real danger signs out there too.
The subject of global Korea, you probably have some very interesting insights based on what you've heard from other places where you have served. I'm wondering what the rise of Korea might look like in terms of what you hear from other places where you have strong relationships around the world.
I think Korea is admired for what they've done. They're an example of a country that came out of a dire situation after the war all the way into the 60s and 70s. Real economic challenges, and we're able to build an economy and a society that are admired around the world. So I think that is the largest take from other people I talk to. But there are a lot more connections also. There are new areas, for example, in the arms industry, where they're selling a lot more in Europe, the huge deals with Poland and other East European countries. No, I think, it's seen as a leader. I don't know whether it's fully accepted that role, but it is, they're admired and are looked to now.
Turning back to geopolitics, clearly there's a lot of pressure in terms of maintaining alignment with the United States, and Korea also has a lot of economic relationships with China that I'm sure you observed from Seoul. What do you think is likely to be the best strategy for trying to navigate that set of pressures, especially given South Korea's geopolitical positioning?
Korea is very heavily invested in China, as we all are. The key will be to try to separate out some of the high-tech, high-end products that go to China or are produced there from the rest, and whether that's possible, because so much of the Korean investment and interest is in things like semiconductors. Whereas with the rest of us, with the U.S., there are other products that are not necessarily strategic or technologically advanced. Some of those are not even produced in China anymore. They're produced in Vietnam or Malaysia, clothing and shoes and so forth. So I think that's going to be really, and Korea and the companies in Korea have accepted that. I think there's an understanding at Samsung and at SK that they have to start moving down the technology in terms of trade. Those are areas that semiconductors represents 20% of Korea's exports. So it's a difficult dilemma for any government in Seoul. And that speaks to, in addition to the history of Korean-Chinese relations, why Lee Jae-myung wants to put it on a better course, a less conflictive course. But that's really, I think, the only way forward. One of the other issues at the moment is the reduction of or possible elimination of subsidies for electric vehicles under the CHIPS Act, for semiconductors. And what that will mean for the interests of Samsung and SK especially. Hyundai, I don't know that they'll have much of an option, because they've basically been run out of the China market. They're trying to build up India as a counter to that, but they are really all in the American market. And so that's the tariffs on automobiles is going to be a big challenge. I think there's a huge expectation in Washington under the Trump administration that most of those issues will be flowing to the benefit of the United States, starting with tariffs and those negotiations. So it's going to be difficult for a change if there is a questioning of confidence between the two countries. I think that President Lee is pragmatic. He'll want to try to satisfy some of those demands, some of those requests from the United States, but only up to a point.
여러분의 소중한 의견을 남겨주세요. 바쁘시더라도 구독과 좋아요 부탁드립니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다. 앞으로도 더욱 노력하여 유익하고 재밌는 콘텐츠로 찾아오겠습니다. 지금까지 단골이슈였습니다.